During my time in engineering, which is from say 1965 to 2002, the change in the technology that was available for us to do what we did was a fantastic change. I mean, it changed out of all recognition. I started working with, well, we started with valve technology. We made things using valves. Some of the electrophysics power supplies in the 1960s used valves. And by the time I finished, we were using microprocessors, the things that you find in the back of your washing machine if you ever dare look. It's a huge change, and it sort of changed from valves to transistors to integrated circuits. Operational amplifiers came in. Then we got into the computers. The motherboards of computers had microprocessors on them. We made motherboards. We then started using computers. We built data acquisition boards that fitted into computers. All this sort of stuff went on. But if you look at the amount of change and the speed of the change, I look back now and I'm amazed by the speed of change from, I suppose, from pentodes to Pentiums. The story about the computing system at Mill Hill and the computing department is quite interesting. Originally, the computing at Mill Hill, and I guess in so many big establishments, was what they called a mainframe computer with dumb terminals scattered around the building. And you would log on to the main computer and the computer would churn away doing whatever you'd asked it to do, data processing or whatever it happened to be. And then along came, well, Sinclair Spectrums and things like this, little tiny personal computers. And they were regarded, I think, by the people at Mill Hill anyway, who ran the big computers, being rather Mickey Mouse things that they didn't really want to be involved with. They weren't powerful enough to do the sort of, which they weren't, to do the sort of computing tasks that the big mainframes would do. However, in electronics, we were watching this, and after a few years, the BBC microcomputer came out. And people started buying these as word processors, and they started buying them at Mill Hill. Up until that time, the secretarial staff had been using IBM golf ball typewriters, but suddenly they bought these BBCs, and the big advantage with word processing, as of course you know, is that you can make mistakes, you can change it all, you can store it. There's infinite number of advantages, and so they wanted to use them. And of course they didn't know how to use them, and they bought these BBCs because the head of the department said, oh, we must buy one of these, this looks like the way forward. And they couldn't make them go. And they would phone us up and say, oh, well, the BBC, it won't switch on, or it won't print, or the printer's not working, or the writing's wrong, or whatever it happened to be. And so we said, okay, well, because we had the ethos of service, that's what we did. We responded to requests. We would go up and we would get it working. And so we learned a bit about the BBC. And the BBC, we recognised, was quite an interesting and important piece of equipment for us, because it had a thing called a user port.